especially in all this time of craziness out there. I don't want to date stamp this podcast, but man, if you look at the world that we're living in today, I mean, it's so easy to get lost in the drama. It's so easy to get lost in the chaos. And before you know it, you wake up and you realize, man, what is the point? What has been the point? So I believe that we get one life to live. I mean, every day is a blessing, and I don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. So live with intention, be authentic, rise up, take control of your life today, because there's no better time than right now.
Over 1,700 new millionaires are created every single day in the US alone, and more than double that across the globe. They're people from all walks of life, most of them people just like you and I. So the big question is this: how are so many people who didn't inherit money or have any special advantages overcoming the odds and becoming millionaires? That's the question, and this show will give you the answers. My name is Jeff Lerner, and welcome to Millionaire Secrets. And welcome back to another episode of Millionaire Secrets. Really excited about the conversation that we have teed up today. Somebody that I've really hit it off with and find a great like-mindedness with. This will be an easy and fun conversation to have that I think is going to bring you guys a ton of value. I'm here with Ryan Lee, who's the host of Rise Up and Live Free podcast, and also, if I've got this right, the CashFlow Tactics is your business. And I want you to tell me all about that for totally selfish reasons, although I suspect everybody else is going to be fascinated too. Ryan, welcome to Millionaire Secrets.
Jeff, I can't tell you what an honor it is to be here, man. I mean, I always love the off-air conversations. We should just press record when we very first get on, because we're talking about life, and we were talking about what really matters, and we're talking about all the, what you're doing to impact people's lives. And I love that about you. I love the community that you serve. So it's such an honor and a pleasure to be here today with you, Jeff.
Well, I appreciate it, and I feel the same about everything I've seen about what you're doing. It was interesting as we were talking, like you say, I should totally just because the thing is, Zoom wants to record by default, and then I stop it, and it's like, just don't stop it, just let it go.
Go.
Right. But yeah, we sort of backed into this awareness that we're really trying to really kind of do the same thing. We have each have our unique angles. I'm coming at it from an entrepreneurial angle. You're coming at it from a financial strategy angle, but ultimately it's just about empowering people to have, really higher quality of life.
Heck yeah.
And frankly, if something doesn't lead to that, you could probably argue, what's the point, right?
Exactly. What is the point? I mean, especially in all this time of craziness out there, I don't want to date stamp this podcast, but man, if you look at the world that we're living in today, I mean, it's so easy to get lost in the drama. It's so easy to get lost in the chaos. And before you know it, you wake up and you realize, man, what is the point? What has been the point? So I believe that we get one life to live. I mean, every day is a blessing, and I don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. So live with intention, be authentic, rise up, take control of your life today, because there's no better time than right now.
Yeah, I totally agree. And, it's interesting. Obviously, you're alluding to the in time of COVID that we inhabit, and I appreciate not wanting to date stamp the episode. But at the same time, to me, COVID isn't a unique moment in time. It's an intensification of a pervasive and tragic human truth, which is that we are predisposed almost magnetically to amplify fear when there's any sort of plausible reason to do so.
Yeah. Oh man. And it's crazy to look at what's going on in the world right now. I mean, fear breeds fear, and fear breeds chaos. And you can see how fast fear and chaos triggers. I mean, if we're talking COVID, it was crazy. I mean, it was this rumbling and this idea that COVID might be out there, that there might be this virus. And then as soon as the media picked it up and ran with it, man, within 48 hours, the world was shut down. I mean, things were nuts and crazy. And it's crazy. I mean, without facts, without data, without results, without any real information, the entire world shut down. And so guys, the reality of it is, I mean, life happens for us or life happens to us. And what I like to believe is life is giving us the exact opportunities, the experiences that we need. And we can look at those experiences and say, I'm a victim of those experiences. I'm a victim of COVID. I'm a victim of the world economy shutting down. Or you can also look at that and say, life is happening for me. And it might have negatively impacted you. I know hundreds, I know thousands of people that have been impacted in a negative way, not necessarily because of COVID related sickness, but what it's done to their business, their finances. So you can look at that and say, look, life is giving me an opportunity to learn, an opportunity to become something new, to develop a different stream of income, to take control over my life instead of being a victim of what will come. So I believe right now is one of the most unique times in history to look at your life, examine what's going on, identify what the results that you have, and make some pivots and changes.
You know what you're saying, and I couldn't agree more. It makes me think, and in no way would I presume to teach you anything about economics or finance, but I'm sure you're familiar with the concept of creative destruction.
Heck yes.
You probably talk about it all the time. I always think about the concept of creative destruction, and it's so hard, I think, for the individual, and rightfully so, to see outside of your own circumstance.
Yeah.
And the reality is that creative destruction is necessary for everyone's life to get better.
Yes.
But for creative destruction to happen, somebody's life has to get worse for a time.
Yes.
And so very often the interest of the person is to preserve something that is against the interest of the people.
Yep.
So I don't know what you do with that. I'm not a politician. Gratefully, I don't have to make a lot of those big decisions. But tell me we are not in a time of incredible creative destruction that in hindsight, in the eyes of history, this is going to be one of the most progressive, innovative, I mean, and not just COVID. I mean, COVID followed by rioting, followed by black versus blue. And I mean, craziness. We are in a time where the seeds of massive progress are being planted.
Oh man. And you can look back through the history of time. I don't know if this was the direction we intended to go, but it's crazy. You can look back through the history of time, from the Great Depression to the 2008 economic downturn to the dot-com bust. Opportunities exist when the crowd is running, when the alarms are sounding. Like the herd is running. The herd is cowering in fear, waiting for someone to come in and solve their problems. But the people who are willing to rise up, the people who think like producers, not consumers, they're looking for opportunities and solutions. And the greatest transfers of wealth happen during these economic chaotic times, because while most people are hiding, there's a few people out there looking for opportunities to solve the problems, to solve, what's going on. And that's when these wealth transfers happen. Because I guarantee you, people are still spending money. It might not be in the same places they were spending it 6 months ago. But if you want to step in front of where people are going and where people's attention is at, look for opportunities. Look for those opportunities, because I promise you they exist right now. And Jeff, that's what I love about what you do is with Millionaire Success Secrets. I mean, you really focus on helping people understand that if we just boil down economics really simple, dollars follow value. That's just really as simple as it is. Money has no intrinsic value in and of itself, but it's a symbol of a transaction where if you create value, if you solve a problem that I have, if you teach me something that I want to know, then I'm going to trade my dollar with you to get the product, the service, the offering that you have. Dollars follow value. So if you're looking at your bank account and you're wondering why it's so low, look at your life and say, where can I go create value for other people?
I love that. Dollars follow value. And you think about what creative destruction is, for anybody that, maybe is new to that concept, it's the destruction that precedes increased efficiency in economics, right? It's all the growth that extends from an act of destruction. And the classic example, Joseph Schumpeter talks about, like when you break a window, look at all the economics that come from that. The guy that creates panes of glass, the guy that installs the glass, the insurance company, the premiums of the insurance company, all this stuff that wouldn't happen, couldn't happen, only exists because windows get broken, right? Yeah. And so money follows value. Creative destruction essentially removes impediments and friction between the money and the value. That's a good thing. And in times of crisis where this destruction is happening rapidly and aggressively, and you mentioned, I was listening to a thing, what you said made me think of this thing I was listening to, that was Tony Robbins talking about his first finance mentor was John Paul Tudor, who was the first, no, I'm sorry, Paul Tudor Jones. I was pulling it up on Wikipedia over here while you were talking. So I'm not just like an encyclopedia. I'm a Googler.
Hey, dude, you got it.
Paul Tudor Jones. I was combining Paul Tudor Jones and John Paul Jones, the bass player for something. I think maybe Led Zeppelin or something. Anyway.
Dang. We're combining two worlds. Worlds are colliding right
Seriously, right? So anyway, the first stock market billionaire whose father taught him to save 50% of his income and wait for good deals.
Yes.
And then I think it was like in the 70s or something, when inflation was like 18% and whatever. This guy went and just started buying stuff for cash, waited 5 years, 10 years, and poof. Or no, he wasn't buying real estate. He was buying, he bought Fortune 500 companies for pennies on the dollar.
Got him.
Waited 5 years and he was a billionaire. He was like the first stock market billionaire. And I'm like, the key, it's all about preparation, planning, strategy, and having a long view of time.
Yes.
I got to imagine I'm speaking your language here.
Oh man, you're speaking my love language. I love everything you're saying, Jeff. This is awesome.
So talk to me then. This is a good segue. Talk to me about, CashFlow Tactics and by extension, your podcast too. I mean, there's clearly a finance foundation in all the stuff that you do. Talk to me about how you counsel people to maybe think differently, reframe their education or their indoctrination, and just get strategic in this insane world that we live in.
Yeah, you know what? If you're open to it, man, let me kind of back up just a couple steps with that because,
Please.
When we built CashFlow Tactics, we didn't build it as like financial advisors going out to sell financial stuff. Ultimately what happened is, Jeff, I followed all of the rules that were laid out in front of me, right? I mean, I'll never forget, as a young man going into college, I was an entrepreneur. I had a lot of side hustles. I had a real aversion to debt. And so I wanted to pay my way through college. And so I worked really hard to do that. I had entrepreneurial endeavors. And, I got married my senior year in college, and I'll never forget, without really thinking about it, I just knew, of course, when you get married, you get a job. Of course, when you get a job, you do the things that are required with that. And so, I graduated college without thinking about it. I took my first job. We moved from Utah to Arizona. And I'll never forget the day I got my first paycheck. I mean, it was like a punch to the gut. I just graduated college. And I got that first paycheck, and with the taxes and the insurance and all the deductions, it was less money after a 4-year college degree and a 2-week working cycle. It was less money than I would make on a weekend as an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. But, I thought to myself, I should quit now. But, then all the social conditioning kicks in, and I think that's irresponsible, right? So I resolved at that moment to cash the check and to climb the corporate ladder as fast and as hard as I could. And, over the coming years, I got promotion after promotion, and like so oftentimes happens, every promotion, I earned a little bit more money, but it came with more strings attached, more responsibility, bigger geographies, more moves, whatever. Mm-hmm. And 5 years into the game, before I get to the 5 years into the game, I was taking that money that I was earning and I was putting it into a 401k in the stock market. And I had no idea what the heck I was doing. That's just what everyone does.
Right.
I remember my 401k crested $100,000, right? In early 2008. And I thought, oh man, I've got this game handled. I'm making it. I had no idea what $100,000 meant or what that was going to help me do. But a few months later, the tail end of 2008 really struck the market implodes, and what was in my 401k disappeared overnight. I lost almost 80% of what I had saved. Mm-hmm. And as I watched that 401k go down, I was scratching my head and I thought, man, I must have done something stupid, right? I mean, I'm probably the only one losing money, but as I listened to everyone, all the coworkers I had, they all hated their jobs. They were all sacrificing, the future for, hoping that one day they would have enough money. And, they had all lost everything in their 401ks too. And I realized, man, for the first time, I'm doing what everyone else is doing, but yet somehow I was expecting a different result. I thought that I was going to be free in my 30s.
Right.
And so, I started looking at this financial world and I started going down the rabbit hole. I tried a lot of different things, right? I went from option trading. I went from, puts and calls, from foreign currency, all this kind of stuff. And no matter what I tried, it felt like it was a +1 strategy. And what I mean by that, it was, if you're getting X% in the stock market, come over here and get X% +1. And, it was just how to be better than the average people. And I realized, man, I don't want to be average. I don't want to be +1 better than average people. I want to be extraordinary. I want to own and control my time. And, as I started going down that rabbit hole, I realized that most financial planning and strategy is not set up to help you win. It's not set up to help you be free anytime soon. It's set up to, for the long game, keep your fingers crossed, close your eyes, stick your head in the sand, and hope that it all works out. And, for me, I decided that was not what I wanted. And, for the next couple of years, I went down a path of doing things completely the opposite of what I've been trained, taught, and educated to do. Had a lot of failures. But over some time, I figured out some principles and some strategies that consistently worked. And rather than feeling out of control, I was in control. And rather than hoping for one day, I knew what had to happen to get the results I was looking for. And that's ultimately what turned into CashFlow Tactics. Within 4 years of implementing the strategy that we teach inside of CashFlow Tactics, I became financially free. I was able to walk away from a corporate 6-figure job. And, along the way, in the beginning, most people said I was crazy. But along the way, people started asking me, what the heck are you doing? And that's ultimately what turned into CashFlow Tactics. And so what we teach people is simple. And this is why I resonate so much with your message, Jeff. Your best investment. I get this. That's the number one question I get asked is, where should I invest my money? And I flip it right back on them. Your best investment is in you, in your mindsets, your skill sets, and your network. And it's in your ability to create and exchange value, to make money. If you're not able to make money, then guess what? You are always going to be in chaos. And a lot of people look at money as this, economic thing. It's just figuring out what you're good at and how to take what you're good at and solving other people's problems. And if you can do that and add leverage to it, boom, you go through the roof. So it's making money. But then on the flip side, it's not just making it, it's figuring out how to keep it and then turn it into cash flow. So we work with people and empower them to go back out and make money and then keep the money that they're making and turning it into cash flow. That's really, it sounds easy. It's not that hard, but most of it just entails unlearning what you've been taught, because if you want average results, go do average things. If you want financial freedom in 10 years or less, by default, it's going to require extraordinary, not average.
Man, I honestly feel like I should be retaining you as a spokesperson for Entre, because the message is so spot on to what we say. Only because you have a financial pedigree, people will be like more inclined to believe you. They're like, oh, this guy's he's a finance guy, so he must be, I'm just like a crazy ex-musician who started an online business, right? You're and obviously I'm kidding, but like, it's so true, dude. It's so true. I always say there's excellent and there's average. There are only two camps. One of the camp has like 95% of the people, or 96 or 87, or I don't know what the number really. And there's this little camp over here of just people that are like, if it's to be, it's up to me. I'll up level my skills until I got what I need. I'll hustle and scrap and get the resources until I got what I need. Yes. But at the end of the day, I know I'm what's going to make it happen. So I'm going to just do it until it's done. I'll, like David Goggins says, I don't quit what he said. I never quit when it was hard. I just quit when I was done.
Yes.
And that little camp does all the cool stuff. They make it all, they have the good lives. They create all the growth. They create all the jobs. Frankly, they pay most of the taxes, but they also are most strategic about the taxes. And so you say, like you said, it's not that hard, but it's like unlearning and changing perspective. And so at that level, it's actually insanely hard for so many people. So I suspect we fight a lot of the same battles. I'd love to hear your tactics.
Well, so here's the thing, man. I feel like the world is conspiring against us. Okay. Now, whether there's a puppet master up there, with a diabolical plan, or what it is there's so much information, there's so much noise, there's so much chatter, there's so many social media apps. And ultimately your number one resource is your time. And people think we're going to live forever. No one wants to look in the mirror and say, I'm going to die tomorrow. I don't know. Hopefully not. But man, your time is the most limited resource that you have. But because we don't know when the end is and we feel like there's an abundance, we waste our time. And so when I say society is conspiring against you, if you have a free moment, you might want to be financially free. You might want to make more money, but it's a lot easier to pick up your phone and scroll through Facebook and to watch hours and hours and hours of stupid videos about stupid viruses and about stupid things. And if you get in the habit of doing that, you wake up one day and you wonder, where the heck is all my time gone? Right? However, if you are intentional about what you want, and I think this is the key, this is what's required. You have to build a sense of clarity of what do you want. You have to see a vision inside of your mind that no one else can see. I mean, Think about Steve Jobs. Everyone said he was crazy, right? How could Steve Jobs take what was once a Walkman and put 1,000 songs in your pocket? He saw a vision in his mind so clearly, and he was emotionally committed to that vision. So what do you want, and why does it matter to you? The more you can go through that cycle and get a vision that you're mentally and emotionally committed to, then the only question that's left to ask yourself is, who must you become? Because the version of Steve Jobs that was required to build and scale Apple didn't exist when he had that vision in his mind. He had to become that person. So that's really at the core of everything we do. That's your best investment. Your best investment, what will build a sense of certainty inside of you, because I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. COVID's happening today. Maybe tomorrow aliens come down. I don't know. But what will build a sense of certainty inside of you is having a clear vision, being committed to that vision, eliminating distractions, and knocking out a very, very focused action step towards that vision every single day. And, after one day, it's not going to look like you did much. After 2 days, it's not going to look like you did much. After a week, after a month, maybe. After a year, you look back and you realize, holy crap, I live in a different planet than everyone else because I've been intentional with my time. I've done something strategic every day to move me towards a vision that I have. And while everyone else was sitting around scrolling through Facebook, you have built a life that matters. You have built a sense of certainty inside of yourself. And from an economic standpoint, dollars follow the value that you create. And I've seen it happen over and over and over and over again in so many people's lives. But I've also seen the reverse happen, where people feel like life is just happening to them. They're a victim of their reality and they're waiting for someone else to change it.
So I have to share with you, because today's been a really big day for me personally. And I feel like there's a few people I've shared this with that are wired to really appreciate it. And I think you might be one of those people. So I actually messaged my assistant this morning and I said, her name's Amber. She's amazing. She's worked with me for almost probably the better part of a decade now. I said, Amber, because, I have to create a lot of social content. That's just like part of my gig, right? I said, Amber, I'm not posting on social media anymore. When I have a social post, if it's a tweet, if it's an Instagram post, if it's a Facebook post, I have a Facebook page to maintain. I have multiple Facebook groups for my business, for Entra. I don't care, whatever it is, I'm going to Slack you the image. I'm going to Slack you the video. I'm going to Slack you the text, and I need you to post it for me. And she's like, sure, what's up? And I was like, I can't do it. The comments and the energy that I have to wade through to get to the doorway of making a post is too crowded and too negative. I'm out. And so literally as of today, I have completely, even though I am a massive producer on social media, because I always talk about the producer consumer divide on social media, and I've been like 90-10, but even that 10, because of the volume of advertising and content and promotion and stuff that I do, even that 10 was becoming a drain. So now I'm 100-0 producer consumer. And I've been having the best day.
Jeff, you are tapping into excellence right there. I feel the same way. I mean, we have a social media manager. I take videos, I take pictures, I plug my phone into my desktop, and they all upload to Dropbox, and all that stuff gets posted. That's how it works in our world. Because, man, and I never heard anyone say it like you just said it. We talk about this all the time inside of CashFlow Tactics. There are two camps, and you've mentioned this a couple of times. I believe that 97% of people live in the consumer condition, where from the top down, they've been trained, taught, and educated to consume life, right? And when I say consume life, they live life vicariously on screens, on internet, on movies, on projecting onto other people. But there is a small minority of people, and they are the producer revolution. They are people that are turning off the noise, that are focusing on building and living a life that matters, and that are doing the one thing that bridges the gap from knowledge to wisdom. They are taking action. They are taking action, as imperfect as it is, right? And the consumer condition, all those people want to point fingers and laugh at you and call you names and say it's not perfect and say it's not good. But the producers rise up. The producers take action, as imperfect as it is. And one day they wake up. In the beginning, they might have sucked. The next day they suck a little bit less, but one day they wake up and they've done it so many times that they actually might just be good at whatever it is they're trying to do. That is what it means to be a producer.
I had an insight as you were talking just now that, we're talking about the conditioning and the sort of, psychological disease that it feels like you and I are, on a crusade to hopefully inoculate against.
Yeah.
So Karl Marx, right? Just come with me for a sec. Maybe this is strange. I have a question. It's going to be a lot more like grassroots applicable, but let me just muse for a second. Karl Marx divided the world into the workers and what he called the elites, he says own the means of production.
Yes.
And then that, derivative from that is communism, derivative from that is socialism, derivative of that is the anti-capitalist mindset, derivative from that is a lot of the us versus them, binary thinking that, it's all bad stuff, right? The trap, the semantic trick in that statement, the owners of the means of production, implies that that's an exclusive group. Because the reality is everyone owns the means of production as soon as they realize that they are the producer.
Oof, man, that is so beautiful. I love that. Oh my gosh, I'm jumping up and down. That's good.
I mean, talk about how there is, like you said, whether it's, whether there's a puppet master or not, there has been a conspiracy of thought unfolding for centuries now that is encapsulated in that very statement that there's an elite class that owns the means of production.
Yes.
Now, because what's left out of that is the fact that anyone can be a part of that class if they just realize that they are the means of production.
Yes.
And that's the crusade here, man.
Man, we could go so philosophical and
I know.
down the rabbit hole because, man, we've recorded like this whole series on that exact concept. And no one wants to, very few people want to listen to that because it does go deep. But if you can get to the bottom of that rabbit hole and you can then see the world that you're living in, you will never see the world the same way again. Because if you look at the Declaration of Independence, right, it was built as life, liberty. Today it's the pursuit of happiness, but it was life, liberty, and property. And if you think of that from an esoteric standpoint, you are the property. Your life, your liberty comes from internally your paradigm, right? Now, we can then extract that and go to real estate and things like that, but you are the property that is going to require you to exercise your freedom so that you can have happiness. Exercise your freedom because it's your God-given right to do so. And man, freedom, it has to be exercised. It has to be earned. It's never given. And it starts internally. It starts internally with getting clear on what you want, where you're at, identifying the facts of your life, resonating with those facts emotionally, connecting to them, and then getting clear on what the focus is going to be. What are you going to do about it? Because life is literally a playground. It's a school system. We're meant to learn and grow. We're not meant to stay stagnant. We're meant to learn and grow.
So you are clearly a very skewed individual. I am a likewise skewed individual. That's why we agree on things. Yeah. I can pretty well pinpoint a few things that skewed me as such. I'd like to know where you went off the rails. How did you become this person that was capable of this level of awareness and follow through? That maybe you tried the corporate thing, but it was already there inside you. I want to know how it got there.
Yeah, man. That's really interesting. And honestly, I don't open up about this a whole lot because it's interesting for the field that I work in. So I have a business partner, and my business partner is literally the smartest dude alive, Brad Gibb. That guy can just see the world in numbers, and I'm the exact opposite. So here's how it started for me, man. I plugged into the system. I told you going to school, went to college, but that's not where it actually started. For me, I dropped out of high school. I hated school. School was so difficult for me to sit down and, be still and to regurgitate knowledge that I could not understand why I was stuffing in my brain to begin with. It just felt so antiquated. It felt so, it felt like it was worthless. And so anyway, I dropped out of high school at 16. I dropped out as a sophomore. And I kind of messed around as a teenager. Teenagers don't know what the heck to do with their time. So I messed around for several years. But when I finally got my life back on track without ever thinking about it, this is, now looking back, I can see how conditioned I was. I didn't even question the reality that I was in, right? I had an entrepreneurial job. I was making good money. But as soon as I got my life on track, immediately my conditioning kicked in that the responsible thing is to go to school. And, I graduated, did all the things I told you about, but here's what ultimately happened to me. As I was climbing the corporate, ladder, I kept telling myself, one day I'm going to have enough money. One day I'm going to have enough money. One day I'm going to have enough money. And I kept trading little bits and pieces of myself, the things I truly cared about. In fact, I found myself living in a different state than my family because my corporate job required it. And I kept telling myself that was okay. That was what a provider is supposed to do. That's what a father and a husband's supposed to do. When I lost almost everything I'd saved in my 401k, that was a blow to the gut as a producer. But right on the heels of that, my oldest son, who was 4 at the time, he's now 14, thankfully, he required an open heart surgery. And at that moment, Jeff, I didn't even live in the same state as my family. I wasn't even really connected to my family. And I kept telling myself it was money that was holding me back. I kept telling myself that one day when I had enough, then I would come back and figure out my physical, what I wanted physically, what I wanted mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. But I was trading those things along the way for the pursuit of money. Jeff, for me, that was the catalyst, man. When I came back and I sat in the hospital with my son, I was so grateful for the life that he had been given and that I could be his father and that I was given a second chance to continue to be his father. And at that moment, I realized that my number one resource was my time, and no longer was I going to trade it for money in a pursuit and an endeavor where I had no control over the outcome. And so that's when it solidified for me. It was time for me to be a producer. It was time for me to, if I wanted a different life, how was I going to create it? Because no one was coming to give it to me. No one was. Like every time I looked for a handout, it was, more responsibility, more stress, more whatever. It was just becoming more trapped. And at that moment, all the way to today, it's been about a decade now. That's when I got committed to, first and foremost, building and living a life that matters today. And here's the odd thing about it. I used to scrimp on things that matter to me. I used to not invest in my family, my physicality, my spirituality. But now as I invest in those things intentionally every single day, it gives me more fuel, more fire, more motivation to come to the economic side of things, my business or my career or whatever it might be. It gives me more fuel and fire to come to that and to, again, look at that. Why am I doing it? What do I want? And how do I use money as a tool to build and live a life that I love now and maintain it in the future? And so with that perception, with that concept, with that idea, it drives what I call a game plan. Money is just a tool. Like if we're going back on and using some good quotes, Ayn Rand, money's just a tool, but it will never replace you as the driver. So if I'm going to be the driver of it, why don't I build something that I want to drive and a life that matters to me? And so for me, that's what this is all about. Financial freedom isn't a destination. The biggest flaw inside of traditional financial planning is it's this one day idea. When you're 65, cross your fingers, everything's going to work out. Don't think about it too much today. Just put your head down and grind one day. But financial freedom is a lifestyle. Financial freedom allows me to show up every single day and say, look, I'm not making decisions based on money as my primary driving factor. I'm making decisions based on desire. I'm making decisions based on fulfillment. How do I bring my best to the world that I live in? And what do I do with the time that I have? Sometimes it's business, sometimes it's family, sometimes it's a combination of all of it. But that's my version of what financial freedom is.
So you've said so much. I have like nine thoughts and questions. I'm going to parse through them real quick in my mind. I just hear so much congruence in what you're saying with things I believe and things I talk about. And the first thing I'll say is, blessings and prayers and gratitude that the situation with your son was okay with the surgery. And that, like you say, he's 14 now, possibly maybe the greatest thing that ever happened to you.
Yeah.
Hard and tragic as it was in the moment. Right. Because, and that's what I find for so many, at risk of a grandiose term, for the enlightened people of the world, there seems to be these pivotal moments, these inflection points that are usually some sort of a hard bottom. I mean, it's usually never fun or pretty, right? That they smack against life and it knocks their eyes open. And I almost, one of the questions I have in my mind as you're talking is like, have you found a way to give people those same type of awakening experiences without them having to get hit so hard? Because I know I had it. Frankly, I had it around 2008. Even though I was a jazz musician. Like I was already in pursuit of freedom and creativity and fulfillment. But financially, I was a mess. My plan was a mess. I had no direction. I was burning up relationships and other types of, non-monetary capital. And I had a shock to the system in 2008, same as you. But I don't wish that on someone else. Have you found an awakening vehicle that just doesn't hurt so much?
It's a good question, man. I mean, sometimes I think, unless we're willing to learn the lessons, those lessons will become more and more dramatic until we have no alternative other than to stop, recognize, and hopefully do something about it. But I think it just comes down to manufacturing a sense of urgency.
Yeah.
And, for us inside of CashFlow Tactics, we build game plans, but these game plans aren't just financial game plans. These game plans are life game plans. And really what we focus on is there's four aspects to it. It's getting clear on what it is we want, right? What is the possibility of our life? Now, that's where most goal setting goes, is these big, hairy, audacious goals. And those are fun, but that's not really achievable. Like if I say, hey, I'm going to fly on a private jet tomorrow and I'm going to build a house on an island and I'm going to go be buddy with Tony Robbins, that might happen, it might not, but it's I'm cognitively I'm disconnected from that because I can't really see how to bridge the gap. But that's my North Star if I say that's what I want. And if I can truly mentally and emotionally commit to that, then that's my North Star. That gives me the fuel and the fire that I need. The next thing of a game plan is the problem. It's eliminating all of the distractions, whether it's social media. Now, from a financial standpoint, what are you spending your money on? Most of us don't think about it, but at the end of the month, all of our money's gone, and we have no idea where it went, why it mattered, what it did for us. So eliminating your problems, whatever those problems might be. Then the third part of your game plan is getting very, very clear in the present moment. And this is where most people stop because honestly, it's hard. It's hard to look at the facts of your life. It's hard to look at, how much money you've made over the last 10 years and what little you have to show for it. It's hard to look at those facts. But if you don't get clear on the facts of your life, you're living in a dream world. And this is where most people stop. They get this big fuzzy vision, but they refuse to tell themselves the truth about where they're at today. Are their relationships serving them? Is their physicality holding them back? Are they, is their spirituality a drain or a positive for them? Whatever it might be, but get clear on your facts. And again, once you're clear on those facts, emotionally connect to them. Why do they matter? Then develop a focus. And for us, this is how you create a sense of urgency. Rather than this big goal, we pull everything back to a 90-day target. And it's what's the one thing of all the things I could do, what's the one thing I can do that will eliminate everything else or make at the very least, everything else easier. And when you start to live with this sense of urgency, right? I've got a big vision. I know where I'm at and I know where I'm going in the next 90 days. Now my mind can connect with that. I can see myself going from where I'm at today to where I need to be in 90 days to stay on track for that big goal. And if you can pair that up with an accountability partner, whether it's your spouse, a business partner, someone that's close to you and someone that you can connect with on a level that they will hold you accountable, then I find that's a great way to inject a sense of urgency into your life. Now, life will still teach you lessons. Things will still happen. You'll still get the curveballs. And I believe, again, those are happening for us if we allow ourselves to believe it. But that's how we try to manufacture a sense of urgency, is just making what could be overwhelming and difficult and pulling it down into, look, man, it's just one thing. It's just one thing. What is the one thing you need to do to move the gap and bridge, knock down a bigger domino?
I love what you said about the facts of your life. And because I have within Entre, we have advisors, we have coaches, we have a lot of people that are going through these one-on-one discovery processes with our students to kind of have similar objectives. Like, okay, let's eliminate obstacles. Let's move, get you focused. Let's get you in action. Let's get you moving forward. And those facts of life conversations are just really damn uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I think about, the conversations I've had when I used to, first of all, for myself, like when you have those facts of life conversations, it seems like there's always a few things that in your mind, you're like, well, those are untouchables. Like my marriage. Well, we just don't go there. My sleep even. Like, well, you're like, well, I know I need 8 hours of sleep. That's like, we're not even going to put that under a microscope. There's nothing to talk about. Right. And like, or for some people, it's my job. And usually, like, if you sit down to have a facts of life conversation, the few things, the short list you want to create of things that don't get examined, usually probably have about 90% of the opportunity. Would you agree?
80-20 rule for sure. 100%.
And that's why you're putting them on the short list of things you don't want to look at. Your body already knows.
Well, and Jeff, here's what I've learned as well, man. So I came from, before I ever went online, teaching people about finances, my very, very first online endeavor, when I decided, look, I'm no longer going to trade my time for money and be out of control in this. My very first online endeavor was helping empower people that struggle with anxiety and depression and moving them to a position of happiness and healthy living. And so I feel like anxiety is massively prevalent. Most people don't even realize that that's what they're suffering from. They call it stress or whatever it is. But here's the reality. I mean, think about it as a kid. When you're a kid and you're laying in bed and the room is dark, your mind starts to play tricks on you. And you think there's a boogeyman in the closet. You think there's a monster under your bed. And if you refuse to examine the facts and you just let your mind tell you these stories, that boogeyman and that monster get huge. and you cry and you have nightmares. But as adults, are we any different, right? As adults, we're no different. The difficult things of our life, we refuse to look at them. We refuse to acknowledge them. We refuse to get clear on the details of what they are. And then in our mind, we start telling ourselves a big story. I can never lose weight. I can never save money. I can't do that. And it's just all this negative self-talk. But when you really sit down and look at the facts, they're never, with very rare exception, they're never as scary as your mind made them out to be. In fact, looking at them, you're like, oh, that kind of sucks. But man, I can do that. I can save that much money. I can knock out my debt. I can exercise 3 days a week. I mean, when you look at the facts for what they are, they're never as scary as your mind tells you that they are.
You know, you just made me realize that exactly what you're describing, I did a few months ago. And it's exactly what you're saying, that when and I'll share what I'm talking about, but like when you look at it through the lens of possibility, you reframe it into it becomes smaller.
Yeah.
Simply deciding from the get-go that like, it's not if I can do this, it's how, and immediately the magnitude of the problem shrinks. And I'll tell you what I mean. So I was having a serious crisis a few months ago where I literally couldn't get it all done. You know, I'm a dad, I have 4 kids. I run Entre. We're scaling Entre. It's growing. Frankly, COVID's been good for business. All these people at home consuming internet content is like great for internet companies, right? And so, and especially, you know, crises around traditional workplace-based employment, and we do online entrepreneurial education. It's like, great. So there's that, there's the wife, there's the kids, there's, you know, I'm pretty committed to working out every day. Like, I mean, my platform is physical, personal, and professional excellence. I can't be like a fat slob. It's just not an option for me. So, but I'm like, I can't. I'm working until 9 o'clock, and I'm a bad dad and I'm a bad husband. Right. And I was already getting up at like 5 or 5:30 in the morning. So I don't know what to do. Right. And I sat down and I carved it up 100 different ways. And eventually I realized I just got to get up earlier. So when you tell somebody who already gets up at 5 o'clock in the morning, dude, you got to get up earlier. I mean, there's a natural tendency to go, oh, hell no, I can, you know, that can't be it. That's a non-negotiable. My sleep is a non-negotiable, right? And I started thinking about it. I'm like, yeah, but how much sleep do I really need? I do fine. I do okay. I do well enough on 6 hours. If I need a little extra, I can catch it up on the weekends, right? But like 6 hours a night, I'm okay. Well, I'm going to bed at 11, maybe 10:30 to get up at 5. Okay, well, could I go to bed at 9 or 9:30? Am I really doing anything between 9:30 and 11 that is like earth shattering or, you know, even important for my life? And I'm like, okay, well, if I went to bed at 9 or 9:30, I could actually get up at 3:30. Like I could pull that off theoretically, right? Because it's the example I'm trying to give is, as soon as I looked at it through the lens of like, well, yeah, this is what I'm going to have to do. So I'm going to have to figure out a way to do it. Suddenly it became obvious to me, this isn't actually a thought process around getting up at 3:30, because that sounds absurd. It's a thought process around going to bed at 9 by 9:30, and that's much less absurd, right? Yeah. You know, the last couple months I've been getting up at 3:30, and I'm crushing it. I'm getting everything done, and I'm home by 6:30 or 7.
Man, isn't that powerful? Isn't that powerful? How powerful your questions can be if you will allow yourself to not shut your mind off with a simple yes or no. Because that's our automatic default, right? Oh, I can't do that. And then boom, your mind is done.
And you tell yourself, well, I'm already doing so well. They can't ask me for more.
Yes, man. But when you get clear on, and that's why that vision, that's why that dream, that's why that inspiration that you clearly have, Jeff, is so required. When you're connected to this vision that's bigger than you, then you look at where you're at, the facts of your life, and you say, it's not yes or no, it's how. How do I do those things? And then your mind starts going down the rabbit hole of problem solving, whether it's getting up earlier, staying up later, you know, taking medication, you know, like whatever, you know, essential oils or whatever to help you fall asleep and get into REM sleep faster, whatever it might be. It's how, not no.
Amen to that. So I have to ask, you mentioned you dropped out of high school, but you still went to college.
Yeah.
You are the second person I've known who dropped out of high school, but still went to college. I am the first.
Ah, yes.
I dropped out about a third of the way through my junior year. I got a medical exemption my first semester, my junior year, because I had mono. And I basically was like, I would literally rather have mono than go back to school.
Yes.
And so I became a piano player because I thought, well, even without a diploma, I'll be able to support myself doing that.
Yeah.
But that's my story. I want to know your story. How did you drop out of high school and still go to college?
Ah, man, this is a funny one. It's a good one. So I dropped out of high school my first semester of my sophomore year. I
Yeah.
tried to go back my junior year and I just couldn't stomach it, so I never went back again. So I dropped out, and then I messed around for quite some time. But when I was 20, I decided to get my life back on track, and I took a GED. Right when I took the GED, I thought that was going to be good enough to then be able to graduate college. But
The good enough diploma, right?
yeah, but it didn't. Like I'd missed so much high school that like the GED didn't even count for my high school equivalency. I had to
Oh,
go back and take extra credits. But I decided to do it, and it was really interesting. When I went back to college, I got to pick and choose some of my courses, but I was taking 99 level courses, so it's open enrollment. Anyone can take those courses. And I went to college that my mom was a college professor before she retired, and she was so excited that her oldest son was getting his life back on track. And I'm not going to call her out, but I'm going to call her out. She pulled some strings, and she got me from 99 level courses into college enrollment never took the SAT, never took the ACT, never did any of that stuff. Didn't even have a college diploma. I had a GED that didn't count.
right.
So she pulled some strings from open enrollment to fall semester. A couple clicks on the computer screen. I did 2 years at what was UVSC back in the day. And once I had that 2-year associate's degree, I was then able to transfer to a university.
Yeah. I mean, look, I mean, if you've got, why wouldn't somebody leverage a resource that they possess?
Yeah.
People say, oh, that's not fair. I mean, it's not fair. Like is it not fair that you speak and there are other people that are mute?
Yep.
Well, stop talking, man. That's not fair because some people can't even talk.
Yeah.
Of course, if you have it, you use it, right?
I didn't even know she was going to do that. I'm grateful that she did do that.
But that's an entrepreneurial disposition. Yeah. I think there's a lot of people. I mean, that word fairness, if I was on your show, I'd spend an hour ranting right now about that word fairness.
Yeah, 100%, man.
Okay, so at least I know. So there's two of us that managed to leapfrog graduation and get into college.
I'm going to tell you another funny story with college. All right. Yeah. So I got my bachelor's degree, and like I ran through, I got into college and I got excited about learning again. Like I hadn't read a book or learned anything, but now I got excited about learning. But again, I was disenfranchised with, well, you have to do this, you have to cram information, you have to take tests. So I just knew, like in the back of my mind, you had to graduate college. So I took as many credits as I could. I took 25 credits my senior year. I had my last semester, I took 2 classes at the same time, and I would just alternate which day I went to which class.
Yeah.
The whole goal was just to graduate, and I graduated and I got my job, and I was disenfranchised with the professional career. So I decided to go back to school in night school and get my master's degree. This is right when 2008 was happening, and I was starting to go down a different financial path. And I realized, man, I don't want to stay in the corporate rat race, but I need money now to build this game plan that I'm building and buy the real estate and do the things that I'm doing. So I stayed and I got my master's degree, but I was literally the dude sitting in the back with basically a comic book. I was reading investing books and all this stuff, how to do investing. And I took my tuition reimbursement that I was getting. I took student loans, pay for the college, took the tuition reimbursement, invested in real estate. Don't ever try this at home. But man, it was crazy because I was buying real estate in 2009, 10, and 11 during my master's degree, right when it was at the bottom. So it's crazy. It was crazy. But I used college as a tool to get what I wanted. And it wasn't to climb the corporate ladder. I thought it was going to be that in the beginning, but I needed to be in control of my time. I needed to be in control of what I woke up and did every day with my life. I just couldn't fall into that system of, running the roller coaster, riding the rat race.
So what I love about that story, and with the same "don't try this at home" disclaimer, is that you converged, taking whatever you had available to you at the time to create cash flow, even if it was, student loans or scholarship, whatever it was, tuition reimbursement, you call it. You converged that with timing.
Yeah.
Because 2009, like, look, if you're going to buy real estate, buy it in 2009.
Yeah.
Well, by the way, if you're going to buy real estate, buy it. I don't know if today is the day, but I mean, and again, not to date stamp this show, but like the next 12, 24 months, I'm calling it. Like there's going to be a lot of good deals.
Lots of opportunity.
So right now, whatever you got, and in our language, in our lexicon at Entre, I call it your anomalous cash flow phase. If you want to really break free in this world, you have to have a phase of your life, like you said, to compress time and turn 40 years into 10 years. Somehow you got to make more money.
Yeah.
You got to have, stuff to play with, stuff to work with, right? So right now, whatever you got to do. Don't stop looking through looking at the world through the lens of tragedy and sadness right now. Figure out what the opportunity is. Go get some money and get super lean and get ready to go plant the seeds of your future in the next 12 to 24 months, because the deals are going to be there.
Jeff, you are like talking gold right there. I mean, that's exactly it. That is exactly it. And I think that's why so many people become dependent on this financial system, right? They're making money, but they're spending everything they have. The average American today saves 5% of their money. And so if you're saving $10,000 a year, let's say, and you're going to try to become financially free, good luck. Right? Good luck. And so then they take what little money they have and they go to this financial world, this machine of the stock market, and say, hey, maybe you can put an interest rate on it that's going to help me get what I want. But they're never in control. What you just said, Jeff, take control of the controllables, right? Take control of your ability to make money. That will be your fuel. We call it in CashFlow Tactics, your freedom fuel. If you know what you want, if you have $10,000 or $100,000, right? That fuel will empower you to start making meaningful traction and progress. So it always starts. In fact, when we built CashFlow Tactics, I'm not wearing it, but like there's 4 aspects of money. It's production, number 1, making money; protection, keeping the money that you make; profiting, turning it into cash flow; and then prospering, living a wealthy life, living a life that matters. So it's those 4 elements combined, and money's just a tool in each one of those phases to help you get what you want.
So I love that. I couldn't agree. I love the 4P mnemonic that you just gave. I'm probably going to hit you up afterwards and ask you to repeat it so I can write it down and maybe even flatter you by taking it, because it's so good. But so I know that for me, that's a big part of, for everything there's a season. I'll always believe in entrepreneurship and entrepreneurial way of being in the world. It's going to be probably a while that I'm a pretty ardent supporter of doing it online, because just the digital economy is just so fertile.
Yeah.
But especially right now, that's what I teach is online. There's different, there's a few different business models that we teach. And, these are the legit mainstream ones. They're not flash in the pan. They're not scams. They're not here today, gone tomorrow. But I'm curious, where do you sort of generally steer people in the world we live in now to kind of seek additional cash flow opportunities that they can use for their freedom fuel?
Oh, love that, man. So we're not the experts in making money, right? I mean, I believe that every single one of us have a unique, innate ability, and that's your human life value. So we have a whole course that we help people start to discover what their unique gifts, talents, and abilities are, right? Because when you live a life authentic to those unique gifts, talents, and abilities, that life becomes effortless. That life becomes fulfilling, right? But when you live contrary to that and you're trading your time at a job that you hate, every day's a grind. You're looking at your watch, you're counting the days, you're waiting for the weekend. So we teach people to really try to find their unique skills and abilities. Then how you want to put an offer around there. Man, there's so many people like you, Jeff. We're big fans of the ClickFunnels world. We teach people to go follow Russell and his community, Allison Prince, Natalie Hodson, whatever that might be. There's lots of people out there to teach you how to make money, but that is your best investment. Like, before you ever try to go invest in things external to yourself, build up that sense of certainty inside of yourself, learning how to make money, create and exchange value. And if you can get into a position, Jeff, and this is why I love what you teach, most people are bound by time, right? Time works against them, because at the end of the day, you only have so many hours in the day. And whether you're making $10 an hour or $100 an hour or $1,000 an hour, you still only have so many hours in the day. But if you can take your unique skills, talents, and abilities and create offers, products, services, technology, systems around that, and you can detach that from your time, and that's where technology comes into play, man, that's when things go vertical. That's when things go crazy, because now you're not bound by time. Now you can create an offer and use the leverage to put that offer in front of hundreds, thousands, millions of people. And then it's just a simple math game. Like, how effectively can you put the offer out there? How can you fulfill on it? How can you then make money and turn it into money that you're keeping, and then turn it into cash flow? And our reason for financial freedom is, look, if you're in your business because you want to be there always, not because you have to be there, that little subtle shift will make all the difference. Because I've seen entrepreneurs that burn out in their business because they've never figured out how to extract money from their business, and what they once loved, they now resent because their business controls them. So you have to be free, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're an employee, whether you have a side hustle, whatever it is. You have to be free to truly get to that area of life where you're maximizing your unique human ability.
I love your emphasis on this unique human ability and the way you set it up, where it's like, I don't remember exactly what you said, but what I took from it was like, a lot of people are like, well, how do I make money? How do I make money? How do I make money? You already said it. Money follows value. So if you want money, don't try to make money. The Fed creates money. You're not going to make money. They'll make the money, make value, and the money will find you. But then the next problem is people go, wow, how do you make value? I mean, this value concept, oh, thanks. It sounds great. It's kind of nebulous. How do I make it? Where do I buy it? You have to, and I think this is the fallacy. I don't think you actually make value. You unleash it when you get clear on what it already is inside you, which is your unique human ability. We are created beings, whatever your religious position is. We are imbued with value the day we were born, or at least a whole lot of potential value. And it's about unlocking it.
Love that. I mean, go back to the Bible. Like if we're gonna use some religious stuff here, go back to the Bible and just review the parable of the talents. Like when you're given a talent, whatever that talent is, when you exercise that in the service of other people, because think about this. Like, I mean, that's what's fulfilling, right? That's what's fulfilling when you can take your human life value, your unique ability, and put it in the service of other people, right? Someone has a problem, you solve that problem, you feel good about yourself because you're helping someone, and from an economic standpoint, money is how we transact that. And the people who live authentically to those skills and abilities and are producers of value, their talents are added upon, right? But the one who hides his talent, right, that talent is taken from him, right? So you have to exercise that talent to A, find fulfillment, B, make money from an economic standpoint, and then C, all you have to do is figure out how to use money. It doesn't matter. It's just a piece of paper. Well, not even really a piece of paper in the digital world we live in. It's just a tool. Then you have to be clear on how to use the tool to build and live a life that you love.
And I as you're saying that, I feel this concept of like, why? Because the way we're saying it, and I mean, we live in this world, right? Like I can tell you're like me, like you ponder this stuff all the time, and you practice the way you articulate it, and you come up with your own mnemonics and philosophies and bullet points and ways. Like we've spent a lot of time getting clear on this stuff, right? But it's to the average person that everything we're saying has a real haze around it, like a hazy quality. And what I want to encourage is that this concept of value, in the idea that it's discovered from within, is, I think the reason so many people are missing that is because of, like you alluded to, the way that we're taught in factory education, the factory education model, which is what Western education is. You go to school, whether it's high school, college, middle, it starts in about middle school, where what do? You take classes. You take biology, you take history, you take English, you take math, you take calculus, you take astronomy, whatever. And so we tend to associate value and progress with those subjects. And from the educator standpoint, it makes sense, because no educator could teach a class called Ryan Lee's Excellence. Like, I'm going to go to college and I'm going to major in Ryan Lee's Excellence. And there's a professor that they actually got a degree in Ryan Lee's Excellence. So they're qualified to teach me about Ryan Lee's Excellence, so I can go discover it and then, unleash all this value on the world, right? There's actually no way, as long as we have in our have in our mind the idea that education is a thing you go attend and receive. You're asking them to tell you about something that actually is already inside you that you should be telling them about.
Yeah.
You're not going to. So then when people are like, well, how do I make money? Do I make money from astronomy? Do I make money from the history of the Peloponnesian War? Do I make money from, arts and crafts? Do I make money from studying, great Western playwrights? Because those are the subjects I was taught. No, because they were never actually telling you how to make money. They were filling time. In a way, they were distracting you from ever asking these questions. And it wasn't some nefarious thing. It's just like, well, that's what they were shown. And I love it, man. These are hard. Somebody listening to this podcast, I got to think, why is somebody listening to a podcast or watch a show called Millionaire Secrets, right? They're trying to find something. And I don't think we're giving them the warm, fuzzy, easily accessible answer. But I think at least from my point of view, I think we're giving the real answer. And it's like, it's not an easy answer to arrive at.
Man, and I think that's the reality of the world, right? Everyone's looking for the easy button. And it's like what we do, what you do, Jeff, what I do, it's not that hard. It really isn't that hard. But what it requires is a sense of focus and a sense of determination. And it's the determination more than anything is eliminating distractions. And it's letting go of good for great. That's really what it is. That's
good is the enemy of great. Amen. Yes. Right there. Yeah. So from a practical, less ethereal, standpoint, make money. Now's a great time. Make money by creating value, by unleashing value. The money will be attracted to it. You will steer people in the direction of finding what their native abilities are. And there's other places they can go. And I'm not going to push for Entre, but I'm not going to not push for Entre either.
You should absolutely push for Entre because I do not believe, Jeff, you've been in this game now for, what'd you say, about a decade?
Yeah, 2008, 12, 13 years now. Yeah.
You cannot lead what you are not living. You can't, right? That's why you see so many flash in the pans. Yes, you can learn how to use tools like the internet and podcasting, and you see so many people come and go because they're not truly living what they're leading. But for someone who's been around for a decade, you better start asking yourself a question. Like, Jeff, what you're doing and the people like you, man, there's something behind their success. There is a system. There is a formula. And that's what gives you the staying power of someone who's been doing it for a decade. And I truly wholeheartedly believe that. And that's so many people are looking for the easy button, right? Put $100 into a course and you're going to be a millionaire tomorrow. That's not how the world works. That's not how life works. And we all know that, but it's our subconscious mind, like it's our ego that's trying to tell us, look, just look for the easy way out. Just look for the easy button. Mm-hmm. And the more and more people chase that easy button, the more desperate they become. And man, from a financial standpoint, I see these people all the time, right? They've traded their days, their dollars, their hopes, their dreams for so long that now they're just looking for one big home run. They're just looking to knock it out of the park. And those people will inevitably strike out every single time. But if you just line up one base hit after another, one single after another, it's boring. It's not sexy, but one single after another, eventually you're driving runs every time you get up to bat. That's all it is. It's just small, achievable wins, targets that you knock over. And life is going to teach you lessons along the way. You must become someone different because the version of you required to be free doesn't exist yet. You have to create that person.
Yeah, I love the sound of that. And I love how unsexy you're advertising it to be, because that's the hardest pill for people to swallow, is that it's not sexy, and it's not even necessarily fast enough for you to see it if you're not also willing to trust the process.
Yeah, totally.
So for somebody to come get immersed in your world and first just discover you more, discover your unique, amazing abilities, and then to take that potentially into CashFlow Tactics or whatever else you would steer them towards. Talk about that process, because I want the world to come anybody here at least to come find you.
I love that, Jeff. Appreciate that. So guys, there's really two things. Like what we've talked about, there is a tactical approach to becoming financially free. In fact, if we're looking at this on YouTube, I've got a little formula here, right? And this formula is the path to financial freedom. But, when we started putting this together, we didn't want to talk about the returns and the outcomes and anything like that. We wanted to talk about, first and foremost, what is required. Rising up. Rise up so that you can live free. Take control of your life right now. Take control of your finances right now. So you can listen to us on the Rise Up, Live Free podcast, where we don't hold anything back. We tell you the real, the raw, the authentic, the hard, the good, all of it. If you want to start to see how what we do translates into your life, we have a 5-day financial freedom challenge, right? And I want to be very cautious about this, because here's the reality. I believe that 97% of traditional financial advice is dangerous, misleading, or outright wrong. So by definition, we are definitely not for the masses. If you want to just close your eyes and put money in a mutual fund, we're not the guys for you. But if on the other side of this, if you're ready to get clear on what you want, the 3%, it's not just doing what everyone else is doing better, it's doing the exact opposite. So in this 5-day challenge, we walk you through what's holding you back. We walk you through why money isn't working for you. And then we walk you through what is required to be financially free in 10 years or less. And at that point, you'll see it's a free challenge. You can see exactly what's required, what we do, and if it's right for you.
So I appreciate that you had sort of a cautionary vibe around like telling everybody to go do this challenge. So I won't ask you how to tell everybody or what to tell everybody to go do this challenge. I'm going to ask you what to tell me to go do this challenge. How do I go do this
Oh,
challenge?
how do you go do the challenge? Yeah.
It sounds awesome. And I want to do it. And I suspect hundreds or thousands of other people will too.
No, go to cashflowtactics.com/5-day challenge. That's the number, or you can just type it out. Either way, 5-day challenge. It's 5 videos, 5 calculators, 5 activities, and real results.
5-day challenge. I'm actually looking at it right now. Yeah, this looks pretty bomb. Okay. So, and how about to follow you personally?
You know what? It's so funny. I'm Ryan D. Lee, or maybe I'm the Ryan D. Lee on Instagram. I don't know, but CashFlow Tactics, that's the best way to follow us. Just get on.
They have an Instagram channel too, right?
Yeah. Instagram, CashFlow Tactics. We're always on there. Rise Up, Live Free podcast. You know, we drop a couple podcasts per week, which, by the way, Jeff, I would love to have you on the Rise Up, Live Free podcast if you're open to that.
Oh, amazing. Yeah. I would love that. After we're done here, we'll stick around and we'll book that. Sounds amazing. I love how ideologically congruent we are. I don't think it's going to be a hard conversation ever.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. Okay, man. So this is awesome. You got me pumped up, man. Like I suspect everybody listening too. Guys, take it from Ryan, take it from me, take it from, frankly, I think this is like episode 40 now. I mean, dozens of guests that we've had. Like, first and foremost, it is doable. It is doable. All the teachers, all the parents, all the grandparents, all the people that loved you so much that they wanted to keep you safe more than, even if it meant not pushing you to be happy, that said, keep your feet on the ground. Do keep your feet on the ground, but stretch your head up into the sky too. Like, we're taller than we give ourselves credit for purposes of the metaphor. And Ryan, man, go follow Ryan. I'm literally going to do the 5-day cash flow. What's it called? The 5-day cash flow challenge? Financial freedom challenge. Yeah. And we'll get those links and put them wherever this appears. YouTube description, podcast description. Any parting thoughts, Ryan?
Man, you know what, Jeff? It was such a pleasure and honor to be with you today. I love people that bring the inspiration, because I think at the end of the day, that's really what it takes. It just requires a fuel and a fire to actually do things in your life. I mean, it's so easy to be complacent. It's so easy to be comfortable. I mean, we live in the most abundant time of our life, but yet so many people are suffering with just anxiety, depression, feeling stuck, feeling like their life is meaningless. So ask yourself, what do you want? Why does it matter? And who must you become?
Amen to that. Hey, thank you for being here on Millionaire Secrets. I suspect we'll probably do it again.
Sounds good, Jeff.
All right. Thank you for watching Millionaire Secrets. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with your friends and leave us a comment below. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you know whenever we release a new episode. Also, if you want to learn the fastest way to become a millionaire in the new economy, click the link in the description below to claim your free copy of my book, The Millionaire Shortcut. And don't forget, Millionaire Secrets is available on all the major podcast platforms as well. Subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts so you can listen on the go. Thanks for watching.